Hey guys, today we're going to learn about contractions. This is our phonics focus for Jellies, the life of a jellyfish. Okay, so we're going to work with contractions today. Contractions are made by putting together two separate words and shortening them by using an apostrophe. So think about it as you're smooshing the words together. For example, we are going to the park today. If you take we and are and smush them together, you get we're going to the park today. A contraction fragment is a group of words that does not express a complete thought. Something important is missing. So it's just like a sentence fragment. If you don't have all the pieces, it's not a complete thought. So let's look at some examples of contractions. I plus am is I'm. He plus is he's. It plus is its. Will plus not is won't. Now that one's irregular. As you can see, the spelling does change a little bit on that one. They plus are their. We plus are we're. You plus are is your. He plus will is he'll. They plus have is they've. And I plus have is I've. Now as you can see, when you smoosh the words together, some of the words or some of the letters in the second word, never the first word, the second word are dropped. So for example, with am, you drop the A. Anytime you have is, as you can see, is he's and its, you drop that I in is. Anytime you have are, like they are, we are, you are, you drop that A. Okay? With will, you drop the W and the I, with the exception of will not, because that one does change to become won't. This is the only one on this list here that the first word does change the spelling and they're still dropped in the second word. So anytime you combine with not, you drop the O like that. And have, you dropped the A-V, or the H-A, excuse me. So there's always a piece that's dropped and smushed together. So let's read through the sentences and then rewrite the sentence. We're just going to say it with the correct contraction. So number one, they will go home. What two words do you think are going to combine together to make a contraction? They will, right? So they will becomes they'll. They'll go home. The next one says he is a nice boy. What two words do you think you would use to combine to make a contraction in the sentence? He is, right? It becomes he's. And as you can see, we've dropped that I and smushed them together. There's no space between those words. I am in my chair. What two words do you think are going to put together for a contraction? I am, right? So I'm in my chair. So I am becomes I'm. I'm in my chair. She is at school. What two words do you think are going to combine together to make a contraction? She is, right? She's at school. I have a big toy. What two words do you think are going to combine together? I have, right? I've a big toy. So I have a big toy. And the last one, they will go to. What two words do you think you'll combine to make a contraction? They will, right? So they will becomes they'll. They'll go to. All right, so we're going to use one of our triggers today to use some more, or one of our thinking maps and triggers to think of some more contractions. But before we do that, I did want to sing you a song. So there's a song that I have. I didn't write it. I wish I could take credit for it. But it's to the tune of Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it's about contractions, okay? So, it says, I'm the first word, don't change me, don't change me, don't change me. I'm the first word, don't change me, oh no, just let me be. When you change the second word, second word, second word, when you change the second word, a shorter word you'll see. Certain letters are taken out, taken out, taken out. Certain letters are taken out. One word will remain. Apostrophe will fill that space, fill that space, fill that space. Apostrophe will fill that space. The rest will stay the same. Can't and couldn't, isn't to, isn't to, isn't to. Won't and I've and let's, it's true. Contractions, everyone. I'm and she's and yours and your and he'd, your and he'd, your and he'd. Would and didn't, will and she'd. Good, and now we're done. So I just thought that was a fun little song about contractions that really focus that the first word does not change its spelling with the exception of will and will not becoming won't. And the second word is the word that drops some letters, and then in the place of those letters is an apostrophe that fills that space. So I just thought that was a fun little different way. So now you'll need a piece of paper and something to write with, and we're going to work on one of our triggers. So for this trigger, just adjust this a little bit. We're going to use a bridge map or the analogy trigger, okay? So once you have your paper and your pencil, or whatever you're writing with, we're going to just do a bridge map of contractions. So a contraction bridge map. So that is our title of our thinking map. So contraction bridge map. So remember, our bridge map is where you have a bunch of relating factors all together. We're going to have 2 rows of 6, so do your best to make that as neat as you can. And then with a bridge map, it's always really important to have your relating factor, because that shows how these words go together, where these things go together. And remember, the relating factor is what you say on the line, and I'll show you what I mean for that. So our relating factor for this bridge map is a contraction for. Okay, so for example, in my first 2 lines, let's say I've written I'm, and underneath I know that that is I am. And I'm just writing as in each little triangle. You don't have to do that part. It's implied with the triangle. I kind of like to. And then let's say I had don't, which is do not. So here's how the relating factor works. So you would read through your bridge map. You say, okay, I know my relating factor. That's what's on the line. So I'm is a contraction for, so I am, as don't is a contraction for do not. And that's what we're going to do for the rest of our bridge map. So we're going to say isn't is a contraction for is not, as can't is a contraction for cannot. And as you can see, when you combine with not, that O is dropped for an apostrophe and it's smushed together. Will is a contraction for we will. It's is a contraction for it is. I've is a contraction for I have. Cat is poking my leg. She wants to be pet. Didn't is a contraction for did not. Your is a contraction for you are. That's is a contraction for that is. Wasn't is a contraction for was not. And you is a contraction for you have. Okay, so other things to note, we talked about whenever you add it with a not, that the O is taken away and replaced with the apostrophe. With is, it's the I is taken away and replaced with an apostrophe. So you have that one down here as well. And R, like noted before, you get rid of that A with your apostrophe, and it's really just making it one word. So it's not just dropping a letter or two, it's just also the combining it together. Okay, so how you would read this contraction bridge map, you would say I'm, using a related factor, I'm is a contraction for I am. As don't is a contraction for do not. As isn't is a contraction for is not. As can't is a contraction for cannot. As will is a contraction for we will. As it's is a contraction for it is. As I've is a contraction for I have. As didn't is a contraction for did not. As your is a contraction for you are. As that's is a contraction for that is. As wasn't is a contraction for was not. As you've is a contraction for you have. Okay, so it's really important when you're writing contractions to make sure that they are put into that one word, that you have the apostrophe where it needs to be, that you've dropped the letters that are appropriate. So it takes a lot of practice with this skill. So really keep working on this and practicing with these contractions. Okay? All right, kiddos. Remember, you can always sing the Mary Had a Little Lamb contraction song if you'd like. Go back and listen to that to help you remember how to kind of write contractions. And just keep practicing them. Have a great rest of your day, friends.